almighty SOS Wrestling Network back at y'all once again. New Japan Pro Wrestling G1 Climax action. G1 30. We got 4 shows. We got night 10 or night 9, night 10, night 11, night 12 to hit y'all over the head with right now in this near science mallet that is the G1 Climax. And you know who I am, the Pro Wrestling Stardust Yaku. Of course, joined here by my illustrious tag team partner, the book junkie yourself, the intellectual juggernaut, the exalted one. Jay, how are you on this Friday evening as we get ready to, I guess, dig our hands into this G1 Climax 30 real deep like, you know what I mean?
Oh, hello, hello. Yes, it's like little kids playing in mud pies. That is us with G1. And like we did last time when we covered 4 different shows at once, we're about to do that again. And oh boy, there were some fun things. I know that this is the point in the tournament where a lot of fans start to get, burnout in some form or other. And I completely understand that, but there were several pretty standout matches that just absolutely entertained me, and I'm looking forward to discussing them.
Absolutely, 100%. And to anybody who happens to be maybe burned out with the G1 action, which we've talked about it ourselves, we're not really necessarily burned out because this is a very different G1 climax than we've ever gotten. But to anybody who is burned out, I guess maybe a light at the end of the tunnel is after these shows that we talk about, for all intents and purposes, we're about 75% to almost 80% done. So it seems like you might be burned out, but this G1 Climax tournament after these shows are pretty much almost done. Most of the guys after these shows we'll talk about only have 3 opponents left. So it's been a breeze. And I feel like the show we did last time was a breeze. And we're going to continue that theme that we did last time. So I want to attack Block A, of course. My homie, my great tag team partner, she's going to attack Block B. So we're going to do it like that. And yeah, if you've been burned out, man, I feel what you're saying, but we're almost at the end of it. Just bite down on the mouthpiece, man. Just push forward. We almost done, and just bear with us and ride with us, man. Strap on your seatbelt, man. We here right now, so we might as well talk about the first match we got on night 9, G1 Climax. This show actually took place in Takamatsu, the general gymnasium in that city. So absolutely, the only place you can watch the show at New Japan World, unless you're on some trickeration, which we're not even going to get into that. So, first match we had on the show, we had Yuri Yamura actually defeating Gabriel Kidd in about 7 minutes, 35 seconds. He ended this man's night. He put him in his blunt after a Boston Crab right here. Both these dudes, they used a huge portion of this match showcasing their ground and mat work, which for me, who's a grappling fiend, I loved it. And this was really solid done stuff by these guys. So grappling pretty much summed this matchup, but it was not just a grappling exchange. We got some forearm strikes here. They start flying. So I'm starting to get into this match a bit, especially when Gabriel Kidd hits a brutal sounding chop. I was like, God damn, Gabriel Kidd's bringing the thunder early. And if you didn't have your coffee, you didn't have your energy drink, Gabriel Kidd definitely brought the caffeine with that chop right there. So from there, I feel a bit more attuned from what's going on, and it turns out to be a really good silent opener right here. Young Lion openers, for the most part, this whole G1 have been really good, been consistent. About if you're into that quote unquote star rating, it's about maybe a 3-star range, which is pretty solid if you ask me. So it's a good satiating of your appetite for what's to come in the G1, and they succeeded at doing their job here. So shout out to Gabriel Kidd, and shout out to my man Yuri Yamura right here. Solid opening contest. So it kind of whets our appetite for the G1 action we had with Block A, which I was talking about. The first match we got with G1 Block action we had Shingo Takagi, the Dragon himself. Surprisingly, maybe to a lot of people, sitting on 2 points right here. He's taking on Yujiro Takahashi, who maybe to not a lot of people surprised, sitting on 0 points. And Shingo, yeah, this is what it is. We love Yujiro here, but maybe not a lot of people had him pegged with getting points early and often. So we get Shingo picking up his 4th points right here. He hits the last of the Dragon, and this match ultimately we got Yujiro proving that he belongs in this tournament and also gunning for his first win. Unfortunately for him in this scenario, we got Shingo Takagi wanting more points, and what Shingo wants at this point, Jay, Shingo's going to get. While Yujiro, he isn't, maybe in some people's opinion, maybe not lighting the world on fire. I give Yujiro Takahashi credit. He's definitely not the worst performer in the A block as far as G1. We'll probably, bring some light on that as this, we talk about this further. But he's been enjoyable. I really feel Yujiro Takahashi's been enjoyable. I give him all the credit in the world because I'm definitely a Yujiro Takahashi fan. And I am definitely not low key, high key, just anticipating his first victory in this G1 Climax right here. But ultimately, it will not be Shingo Takagi because Shingo Takagi puts him away right here. Like I said, puts him away with the last of the dragon. Yujiro's actually having a really good showing here in this tournament. He has some solid outings in this tournament so far. Maybe not anything that we'll talk about in the year later on as we talk about the year wrap up as far as New Japan, but I think he's had a really good showing for himself in this G1 Climax tournament. I'm actually glad he's back here. So shout out to Yujiro. Next match we got for Block A, actually, we have Jeff Cobb. He's sitting on 2 points, taking on a man who's actually sitting on 6 points right here, Jay White. And to my surprise, not to my dismay, to my ultimate surprise, Jeff Cobb is able to defeat Jay White with the Tour de Allens around 12 and a half minutes right here. So Jeff Cobb, in my opinion, is honestly having a much better G1 than his debut G1 last year. Jay White just seems to be enjoying his position right here, getting able to perform in the G1 once more. Of course, I'm glad he's back. I think everybody can say that they're glad he's back. I absolutely love the fact that Jay White's trying to do his best he can to frustrate Jeff Cobb right here. He's breaking up his momentum, holding on to the ropes, back into the corner, of course, taking cheap shots, then running. Would it slow down and interrupt the flow of the match? Of course, but I think it worked well and this added to this match a little bit more. So I love watching Cobb's power here, especially when someone like Jay White knows how to make it look really, really good. And Jay White made Jeff Cobb look excellent right here. Not that Cobb is a sort of broom character, but when you have a guy like Jay White, he's just going to make him look that much better right here. So this was really good. I would say this is maybe Jeff Cobb's standout match of the tournament right here. At this point, this is kind of weird to say. This is like standard work for Jay White right here because not only is the best heel in pro wrestling, he's one of the best wrestlers in the world, as we've been saying here for almost 2 years. But, you know, not trying to give ourselves a Barry Horowitz, but we have been saying that. So the next G1 Climax action is definitely not Jeff Cobb versus Jay White right here. We get Kazuchika Okada defeating and taking on and defeating Minoru Suzuki 14 minutes, 10 seconds. He actually counters a Gotch-style pile driver into a roll-up pinfall right here. And I had high expectations going on to this match because Suzuki is normally a guy that he has great chemistry with. That guy he has great chemistry with is normally Kazuchika Okada. And I don't know what's going on here with Okada. I don't know if it's the lack of a full crowd, but Okada, in my opinion, is putting in lethargic efforts. I'm not sure what the main contributing factors are, but as far as the G1 Climax, you can almost argue that he might be the worst performer in Block A. And if you were to say that, I would not disagree with you. Every time he has a match, I get a little investment, a little intrigue, because I'm maybe hoping that this would maybe hype things up. I enjoyed the match he had with Yujiro earlier in the tournament, and it's just really weird. At the end of the day, I just thought this match that he had with Minoru Suzuki was really generic, and it definitely was not anything that these guys have done before. They definitely had better work before. But I don't know. Okada's definitely one of the worst performers in Block A to me. If you say he is the worst performer, I would definitely not disagree with you. But to talk about people who are pretty much on the other end of the spectrum as far as Block A, we got Tomohiro Ishii defeating Taichi about 18 minutes, 41 seconds, defeating him with the vertical drop brain buster right here. Dangerous T, Tomohiro Ishii. This is like a glass of scotch combined with a nice steak. This was fucking delicious right here. This was a damn good match, and this actually got me more hype after the Suzuki Okada match kind of let me down a little bit. So as we all know, Ishii is always a highlight at G1, and this trend continues this year. The expressions, desperation, the refusal to back down, the ability to absorb damage and to keep going. He's just so endearing, and Ishii is really easy to root for. Taichi keeps upping his game and keeps getting better and better. The Holy Emperor is not playing this year, and he's having a great showing here in the G1. And this match was just another example of that. Both these guys hit hard. Personality shine through here. Both these guys look really, really great. This match had a lot of elements that I just like to savor and I just love to take in. So definitely better than the Okada Suzuki match. This match is pretty damn solid by Ishii and Holy Emperor Taichi. Taichi's just rolling. We all know this is standard stuff from Tomohiro Ishii, but Taichi right here, man, take my hat off, my Los Ingobernables hat off to him. He's having a great 2020 and post, CB New Japan outing. It's just been really, really good. So then the main event of the show, which I was kind of actually surprised was the main event, but now in hindsight, looking back at how the matches went, I'm kind of glad it was the main event. We have Kota Ibushi defeating Will Ospreay here in about a little under 16 minutes. He beat him with the Kamagoye, excuse me. In my honest opinion, this was a good match. This match really didn't really reach the heights, the high heights I think that was like heaped up on it when this match was announced. And you could argue, in my opinion, that if they had a few more minutes and allowed to them, they could have achieved that. I'm with me saying that I'm not upset what we got here though. We got 15 minutes of Will Ospreay and Bushi having a great solid match, and I see no fault in that. Honestly, this match really breezed by comfortably, and the crowd clapped and applauded along for the entire ride. In my opinion, which adds to this atmosphere as well. And as a well entertaining crowd always does. So you got to give credence to that. Good, if not completely perfect ending, in my opinion. Sequence caps this match off nicely. And just like I said, it was good. I've seen better stuff from these guys, but I think the right guy won. And we get the Kamagoya putting this up right here. So now we're on to night 10. And I think before I throw it over to Jay, I think the top two matches here are excellent. And I would say the top two matches, that being Tomohiro Ishii and one Will Ospreay taking on Kota Ibushi. They didn't disappoint, but the void here in this show, in my opinion, was Okada versus Suzuki, and we didn't get a terrible Yujiro match taking on Shingo Takagi. We also had a very good Jay White versus Jeff Cobb match, so I definitely enjoyed the show. The show really breezed past, and really the only blemish on the show was Suzuki versus Okada. So Jay, I serve it to you. What you think about the show?
Well, I found it quite enjoyable, and I think all of these shows are flowing very smoothly because they're half the length that they typically are, and that really has not been a bad thing. Now, if we're just going to go in reverse order with all of this, we're going to start with the main event. Yeah, Ibushi versus Ospreay was at the top of so many people's lists when the cards were coming out that, this was going to be one of the must-see matches of the entire tournament. And for the most part, I think I will agree with your assessment that it was very good, but it didn't make its way into great territory. And it's not the fault of any particular thing. If any two people could pull off, this kind of match, it would be these guys. And it's hard not to be pulling for Ibushi because, he has a loss to avenge in the first place. So I was quite pleased at that part. He got that back. But there was just something that was, nothing was off, but I will say something felt slightly missing that just kept it from being the great match that I think so many people were hailing it as being. As far as Tomohiro Ishii versus Taichi, I was really, really looking forward to this one because Ishii is Taichi's best opponent, hands down. Ishii has always, ever since Taichi became heavyweight, been the guy who can just pull the version of Taichi out of him that audiences want to see. Ishii can make Taichi fight, and he can do it like nobody else. And that takes us back to the whole four Black Saints thing. And there's just a chemistry between them that is unlike any of their other opponents. And Taichi has had excellent matches with a lot of people, but his matches with Ishii just feel different, and this was another one such. I find it interesting that this was the longest match on the card, too. The fact that it went longer than the main event, that was kind of an interesting thing. So, I was happy that Ishii got the win, but I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit surprised. There's so many people who feel that Ishii should be higher up in points right now, and I completely agree with that. But at the same time, if he was going to lose a match, I would totally have believed it had he lost to Taichi here. My big problem with Okada versus Suzuki matches across the board is this. You have Minoru Suzuki destroying all of your limbs, particularly your lower body, for 20 freaking minutes at a time, and then you get up and nail a picture perfect drop kick and just act like there's nothing wrong with your legs. I'm sorry, no. And he does that. That is just a thing that happens. And yeah, I'm not saying that if a Suzuki Okada match is bad, let's, trash Okada for it. I know there's two people in a match, but if you have a match with Minoru Suzuki, he's basically going to try to ensure that you don't walk out of there. And so my problem when Okada faces Suzuki is he suffers and suffers and suffers for most of the match, and then he'll get a win in a way that just casts aside the previous, in this case, 14 minutes of being brutally done over by Murder Dad. So that just has never felt right to me. So I'm not going to lie, I was disappointed that Okada got the win. So, that was what it was, but I totally understand why a lot of people felt rather negatively about this particular match. A match that did not get a lot of negativity was Jeff Cobb versus Jay White, at least as far as the match itself went. I did see a lot of people bemoaning the fact that, I can't believe Jeff Cobb beat Jay White, but did you see how Jeff Cobb beat Jay White? I mean, I'm about as big a Jay White fan as they come, and I thought it was hilarious that Jay was the smarter wrestler, but he just cannot overcome the power of a streamlined Jeff Cobb. Jeff Cobb is in the best shape of his life, and he's clearly having a blast doing what he's doing. And Jay had a strategy. Jay is one of the smartest wrestlers out there. Strategy cannot overcome you being tossed around like a rag doll.
Facts.
And so I was absolutely shocked that Cobb got the win. But if you actually watch the match, it's great. It totally makes sense. And besides, Jay's got to take some losses. I would rather see him take a loss to Cobb in the kind of match that they had, where Cobb looks like $1 million in the process. And, now he gets to claim a victory over Jay White, because let's not forget that they were both doing the New Japan Strong stuff in America prior to this. It was them and Kenta. And Kenta ended up winning the tournament and the briefcase, but these two guys already had issues. So the fact that Cobb can claim a win over Jay White does not bother me at all. Shingo versus Yujiro in the opener, I enjoyed a lot. Again, a lot of Shingo fans did not appreciate the fact that he was basically opening the show against a guy with no points. But we have to give credit where it's due. I think most of Yujiro's matches that were not with Okada at least started out pretty well. Yujiro is bringing it. It's just that he doesn't bring it for very long. And I have a theory on where that's gonna go, but the first part of his match against Shingo, he was doing pretty well for himself. So it means Shingo got 2 more points, so really, who cares? And then with the Young Lions match that opened everything, we've talked a great deal about the 3 Young Lions that we're seeing in one form or another every night. Gabriel Kidd seems to enjoy wrestling Yuya Uemura, whereas he's fighting Yota Tsuji because Tsuji's running his mouth, and Kidd is not taking that very well, whereas he and Uemura have more of a respectful rivalry going. Kidd and Tsuji are talking shit, and you can see that in their matches. And, this was one such. This was just a very good competitive back and forth match. And I'm enjoying all three of them in all of their combinations, and this was no exception.
Shit, you'll get no disagreement from me. So I thought night 9 was a pretty solid night overall, Jay. So if you want to tell the people we had on our slate for Block B action on night 10, I will be super grateful.
Indeed. Night 10 on October the 6th from Hiroshima Sun Plaza Hall. We open with a Young Lion match between Yota Tsuji and Yuya Uemura. We got our second time limit draw with our Young Lions, ladies and gentlemen. And if you remember the track record between Tsuji and Uemura, this has been their thing. Their win-loss record stays consistent. One of them might pull ahead by a match or two, but then the other one will get enough victories to even it out. And they had a ridiculous number of time limit draws between them. So, we've had a time limit draw between Tsuji and Gabriel Kidd. Now we've got a time limit draw between Uemura and Tsuji. And I would not be surprised if we start seeing more time limit draws as these Young Lions get closer and closer to not being Young Lions anymore. So we'll see how that goes. But, this is one of those rivalries that could be a career-long thing. And, I would enjoy it. Something else that I enjoyed a whole lot more than I probably should have was the first G1 tournament match of B Block tonight. Hiroki Goto taking on and defeating Toru Yano in 18 seconds. Let me repeat this. Goto defeated Yano in 18 seconds with the Goto Shiki. So, entrances took longer than this. And this was a shocker. I was very much taken aback that it was over that quickly. In the context of what's going on, I love this because Goto was very quickly dispatched in his last G1 match. So he was kind of embarrassed about that. Plus, Goto's got that bad shoulder, and he knows that at this point, he's basically got to end it quickly and on his own terms, or he's going to be hurting a whole lot more. So this was super, super smart on the part of Goto to just, hit the ring, destroy Yano without even breaking a sweat, and then leaving. And I believe it was said that this is now officially the G1 record for the shortest match ever. Yay, Goto.
Wow.
Following that was one of my favorite matches anytime it happens, and that was Sonata taking on and defeating Zack Sabre Jr. I love the chemistry between Sonata and Zack. They can fight each other as much as they want to, and I will always be highly entertained by it. So this was no exception. It's not the best match they've had between them. I still seriously think the first match they ever had was their best, but it was also so shocking. I think I've said shocking like 4 times already on this broadcast. But the first time Zack and Sonata fought, and Sonata beat Zack at his own game, it was just a jaw-dropping thing. Everybody's like, whoa, wait, what did he just do? And now that we know he can do that, I think these two are excellent opponents for each other. And while this match could have gone either way, I really had a feeling that once Sonata got the win over Naito, that he was going to go on a roll, and he did here, beating Zack in about 14 and a half minutes with a with a Muda moonsault. My water bottle fell into my sword. How many wrestling podcasts can say that and mean it?
Not very many.
But it was very, very good. Counters upon counters upon counters, and this is just a pairing that I do not ever get tired of. So I am biased in its favor to begin with. Next match, we had Evil defeating Juice Robinson in about 15 and a half minutes. And you kind of had to feel for Juice here. Juice has been so good, so very good in this G1 in all of his matches. And this was another case of it was not so much Evil beating him as Evil and Dick Togo beat him. So Juice Robinson falls to Evil by the move of Evil in 15 and a half minutes. And it, again, was not only competitive, but, this was one of those matches that when it was over, you're thinking, yeah, Juice should have won this match, which is, I guess, what you're supposed to think about all of Evil's matches at this point. Then we go to the semi-main event, and the semi-main event is not a distinction that half this match wanted. We saw Tetsuya Naito taking on Yoshihashi, and Naito said in his lengthy interview posted on NJPW1972.com that he actually resented the fact that his match was not in the main event, and that, apparently facing Yoshihashi dragged him down out of the main event because that was where they were, which is fair. Now, this match went almost 25 minutes, so it was a little bit longer than the actual main event. Only just, but enough that it counted. So we have the Yoshihashi is people story continuing on, and Yoshihashi continues to have the most competitive matches that he's had basically in his entire career. Now, personal biases being what they are, I still think Yoshihashi was way too dominant in this match. I think that it was a lot more evenly matched than it should have been, and I think it went longer than it should have been. Naito's the double champ for a reason, and even if he were not my favorite person in the history of people, I would still think that Yoshihashi should not have been able to step up to him in the manner that he did. And there were times when this match felt like they were filling an assigned time slot. Like, they're making up for Goto in his 18 seconds or something, because it just felt like it did not need to go 25 minutes. But, it wasn't bad. It just felt like, okay, we get it. Yoshihashi's good now. Okay, can we stop now? It was very much like that at points. So I would have shortened this match, and I'm not saying that Yoshihashi shouldn't be competitive. I just think he was too competitive, considering that his opponent is currently a double champion, even if that double champion is known for getting the shit kicked out of him by basically everyone. I get that. But it just felt like, okay, you're doing something because you feel like you should, rather than because it's the right thing. In any case, that takes us to our main event of Hiroshi Tanahashi defeating Kenta in just under 24 minutes. And this one I was not at all sure about. It honestly felt like it could have gone either way. And, you had Tanahashi being the once in 100-year ace. You had, him pulling out all of the things that we love to see in a Tanahashi match. And, he obviously he won, he brought it. But, Kenta was no slouch. And I really think people need to give credit to Kenta for the matches that he's having. We are seeing so much more of the Kenta that we all knew and loved than we were a year ago at the G1. So he is definitely putting all the pieces together. I love the fact that he's carrying the briefcase around. Of course he's using it as a weapon, but yeah, the fact that he's losing is playing into his backstage comments, which are always glorious. But now, if you haven't been following the backstage comments, check out what Kenta's doing, because apparently the backstage camera person is not the same at all the shows. It's not like it was when it was the same person traveling with them. And it seems that every match Kenta loses, the camera person that he doesn't like is the one that's back there. So he's started blaming this person for cursing his matches. So you've got the camera person that he has his romance novella TV show with, the one that he likes. When that person's there, he wins. When the camera person he doesn't like is there, he loses his matches. So Kenta is starting to become concerned that he's cursed, and that's just hilarious. So Tanahashi gets the win there, and the ace is now up to 6 points. Kenta is at 4, but Kenta still has his briefcase, even though Juice Robinson claimed early on that he was going to be going after that. The floor is yours, my friend.
Well, Juice Robinson's going to have to take a back seat because Kenta owns that briefcase. And just because you got a fluke victory over one legend that is Kenta does not mean anything. It means the sun shines on a dog's ass any day, Juice Robinson. So have several seats, my friend. But until then, my overall thoughts on the show, overall, I can speak. Overall, thought this was a pretty good night for the B block. I like the top 3 matches we got right here. And the Goto and Yano match was a nice diversion. Honestly, feel like, and this is not even a diss to this match, but I feel like the only match, if you want to kind of quote unquote call it disappointing, and that's not even to me saying it's disappointing, that's just saying it was maybe the lesser match on the show. Maybe Zack and Sonata, and I don't even think that was a bad match. I just think we had a lot of solid quality stuff on this show, and I do agree with you. I think Yoshihashi and Naito maybe went a little bit too long, and y'all know me how we do it. I'm always gonna compare Naito's title reign and how dominant it is to certain guys or whatever. And I just think back to maybe 2 years ago when G1 28, and I think to a guy who was the IWGP Heavyweight Champion right then. And I'm like, would he have had a 25-minute match with Yoshihashi? No, he wouldn't have. And then I'm like, it kind of just annoys me a little bit, but I can kind of understand maybe Hiroki Goto's a little banged up. So they, of course, put the onus on Naito and Yoshihashi to have a banger of a match, which they have. So, yeah, I agree with you. Yoshihashi's having the best matches of his entire career. And, of course, this day in the office for guys like Tetsuya Naito, guys like Kenta, who also told the cameraman he need to lose some weight. Thought that was pretty great as well. It's just like, dude, Kenta, it's amazing. I love it. And also Zack Sabre Jr. saying he wants to have a best of, I think, 147 matches with Sonata. I think that was the number. So we got that to look forward to in Block A or Block B once we have all that stuff, the fallout from that. But overall, I thought this Block B action was pretty solid. And I think this is a nice way to take us to Hiroshima, the Hiroshima Sun Plaza is the next place we're going to stop at. So first match we have on the show, we have Yota Tsuji defeating Gabriel Kidd right here. And honestly, this is, in my opinion, this was maybe not as hard-hitting and as mean as their matches from Night 5, but it's definitely quick. In Tsuji's finishing sequence, the running power slam and a wrenching Boston Crab looked really, really brutal. I thought it was a nice opening contest right here. So that this transitions us into the G1 action. We got Tomohiro Ishii taking on defeating Yujiro Takahashi. Tomohiro Ishii is sitting on 4 points. As we all know, Yujiro Takahashi is sitting on 0 points right here. This, what's not to love right here? Things started to pick up when Yujiro landed a nasty-looking fisherman buster during the middle of the match. Ishii popped back up. He hit him with a German suplex into the corner. The last third of this match, see these two drop some serious bombs on each other, some real big boy stuff right here. So Yujiro teased a couple near falls. I thought that was really good, but it all was for naught as we get Tomohiro Ishii putting him away with the vertical drop brainbuster. Really, really solid stuff. Yujiro still searching for his first win, but he's not searching for quality matches because he's had those throughout this G1 Climax right here. And speaking of somebody who has not had quality matches, but he maybe had his best match so far at the G1 Climax. I mean, Kota Ibushi match is good too. We got Kazuchika Okada defeating Jeff Cobb right here, and who would ever thought that Jeff Cobb would be having a better G1 Climax than Kazuchika Okada? He is not going to blow up anybody's spreadsheet. He maybe had I'm not going to say disappointing, maybe subpar G1 performance last year. He's definitely up this game right here. He's got a better grasp of how to fit into things in New Japan Pro Wrestling right here. So definitely thought that was a good touch. He sold the money clip in this match like it was impending death before Okada sneaks a clever victory with the sitting cradle. I really like this match a lot. This is probably Okada's second best match besides Ibushi here. And actually the match he had with Jay White's pretty good too. So this is actually in this top tier matches here in the G1. And I don't even think I'm in a minority. I think I'm in a majority right here. The Okada rolling cradle is a more believable finish than his money clip. And I don't like the rolling cradle does not take anything away from the match for me. It's like, oh, wow, Okada snuck up and won the match. It's not like, oh, he's getting him in the money clip. He's going to pass out and or tap out. So the rolling cradle is greater than the money clip at this point. Just my opinion. He should probably start doing that. Okada's become a luchador before our eyes trying to end matches here in the G1. He didn't know what he wants to be. It is what it is. So next match you got right here, a match that when I saw on paper, I kind of knew what was going to happen because you think about it, it's you got Will Ospreay taking on Minoru Suzuki right here. It's like, who would a win mean more to at this point in their career? Of course, you know, here we are fans of Minoru Suzuki, but Minoru Suzuki beating up a dude like Will Ospreay is nothing to him. Will Ospreay sneaking some kind of victory while grabbing the tights and gouging Minoru Suzuki in the eyes, that would mean the world to him because that's exactly what he did. He definitely did grab the tights and he definitely did gouge his eyes when he was pinning them. That's what I saw anyway. But no, he got
your
the
monitor
right
went
here.
out.
Exactly. My monitor definitely went out right there, Jay. But all jokes aside, I kind of figured that Will Ospreay was going to get the victory right here. And it was pretty sudden and it didn't do anything, I think, to damage Minoru Suzuki. It was just kind of like he got the Stormbreaker out of nowhere and just hurried and pinned him. It wasn't like, okay, he's been dominating him right here. So it is what it is. He had kind of questionable selling of his arm, which Ospreay has been kind of doing that during this whole G1, but it is what it is. We still got a Minoru Suzuki pulling off a La Mystica. So if anything, we can take credence that Minoru Suzuki pulled that off. So shout out to Minoru Suzuki for, of course, being the better man in this match because he is, no matter what the result was. Minoru Suzuki is the better man, and by my accounts, he's the winner. But anyway, we got Jay White taking on Taichi here. Next match right here, we got Jay White defeating Taichi. It was actually one of the matches I was looking forward to the most right here, especially since Jay returned to Japan. Jay stepped his game up immensely since he's returned to Japan. He's not only one of the best heel wrestlers in the world, he's one of the best wrestlers right here in the world. So I like the spot where Taichi's teasing Geto with the Geto clutch. That was so money right there. I love that. That was excellent. So in this match, kind of, I don't know if it was just me, but it was almost like an abrupt ending because it was like he just hit him with the blade run out of nowhere, and that was just it. But I thought this was a really, really solid match. I thought these guys worked really, really well with each other. Taichi and Jay White kind of have an underrated chemistry, and I like the part he was like, "Serenade me, please, Taichi, serenade." I thought that was all good. They worked really well off each other. I enjoyed this match a lot, maybe more than I should have, but I just like both guys, so it is what it is. So, main event of the show, we got Shingo Takagi defeating Kota Ibushi right here, gaining his 4th point. Kota Ibushi sitting on 8 points, stuck right here. And this match ultimately is, matches like this, guys, is why you fuck your life up for an entire month to watch G1 Climax. You can tell this is the first time meeting between both these guys. You can tell early in this match this was going to stretch beyond 20 minutes. And you thought maybe it might go the route as far as Shingo and Ishii from night one. This kept me engaged enough that every time they did something, I was like, okay, this is, at the moments just kept getting ramped up. The bumps they took on their necks. 15 minutes they're just abusing each other. We got Ibushi is laying kicks in the single chest right here. We got the German suplex attempts. We got buzzsaw kicks. We got pumping bombers. We got pop-up death valley drivers right here. This is pretty much what you're going to ask for. Kota Ibushi put on a masterclass of bumping in this match. This match is fucking amazing. We get Shingo Takagi beating Kota Ibushi right here. Last of the Dragon. Solid damn match, man. And as I give a point standing, 4. So with the J, we got Kota Ibushi sitting on 8 points. We got Okada 8, Ospreay 8, Jay White 8. It's really kind of like bottlenecked up at the top. We got Takagi, Taichi, Tomohiro Ishii, Minoru Suzuki out with 6. We got Jeff Cobb with 4 and Yujiro Takahashi with 0. So a lot of these guys here, it's pretty close in this A block. And it's pretty much if somebody gets on a run, they can have shit happen. Match of the show, I think beyond of a doubt, is Bushi Shingo. I thought, yeah, it was really fucking good. Take nothing away from none of the other matches we got, but Shingo and Ibushi was the first time meeting, and I was very excited for it. So, Jay, what you say?
I could not agree more with that. That is absolutely the match of the show. Ibushi and Shingo are both members of the 1982 club with Naito and Taiji Ishimori and all those other guys who were all born in 1982. And so the idea that this is, a first time singles matchup between them, at least in a New Japan ring, is honestly a little bit of a surprise. Not nearly as much of a surprise to me as Shingo getting the win here. And I say that not because I didn't think Shingo could do it. Shingo's amazing. I just really didn't think that he would be beating Kota Ibushi at this point in the G1. So that was very much a surprise, but a pleasant one. And as you say, this match had everything. This is why we watch the things that we watch. And if you don't look at any other thing from this particular show, go out of your way to see this match, because there's only one way to describe this match, and that is, oh my God. And when you watch it, you will see why that is fair and accurate. Jay White versus Taichi was great. I was looking forward to that because I'm always curious to see what happens in heel versus heel matches when the question of who is going to be the bigger prick come into play. And Taichi hits the ring during his entrance, and Jay doesn't even take his jacket off. He's sitting in the chair applauding as Taichi is singing, and you gotta love that. The aficionado of fine music as Jay White is, and the match did not disappoint at all. The chemistry they have is really, really good. I absolutely agree with what you said about the Ghetto Clutch. I was watching that going, oh yes, there we are. And this was another match that I really thought could have gone either way. And it's not like, we haven't seen stuff from Taichi that proves he could do that. Now, in the backstage comments, Taichi actually said that he had heard what Jay had said about, Jay actually, kind of likes Taichi because, Taichi doesn't give a fuck what any of the fans think or, whatever. So Taichi's listening to that. If you haven't seen it, Taichi actually says that, you like me? You actually respect me? Okay, we can work together. You can start as my assistant, and then we can go from there. And I'm just like, oh, damn, Taichi. So I don't know that we should look for a tag team anytime soon, but, those two going at each other in the backstage comments in their own very, very snarky way is pretty glorious. And while it was abrupt, I think that's kind of the whole point of the Blade Runner, is that it can end a match at any time. And it's not a bad thing to remind us that that is the case. With Ospreay versus Suzuki, I think what we should bear in mind when looking at this is that, particularly in light of how Ospreay won the match, he is now at the top of Murder Dad's death list. And that is not a place that anyone should wish to be. So yeah, he got the win here. He got the 2 points here. But now Minoru Suzuki wants him to die screaming with sharp things in his head. And that is something he's going to have to be looking out for. You know, sleep with one eye open, sir, because you're going to have to after this one. Okada versus Jeff Cobb. I don't know if you could call it a letdown in the sense that, I mean, Cobb was owning that match. And this was a pretty short match. It was only 11 minutes long. I mean, Cobb was dominant here. And then, Okada gets that pinfall victory, and Cobb kicks out just a little bit too late. And he was so frustrated with himself about that. In his backstage comments, he actually said, "He beat me, an Olympian, with a wrestling move. What is up with that?" Yeah, so he was actually very put out at Okada's method of winning. But yeah, this was another match where Okada got the victory, but he didn't win the match. Yeah, that was Jeff Cobb's match all the way. And so I know that as far as Okada in this G1 is concerned, there's basically 2 camps. You have the people who may not have been all that crazy about Okada to begin with, who are pointing out that, hey, all of the shortcomings that we have always talked about are now on display for everybody. And then you've got the people who were largely big Okada supporters who are saying that, it's just the storyline and that he's so good that he's wrestling badly on purpose for the sake of a storyline about him not being very good right now. And we don't know what's honestly going on, but what we can say is that the matches that Okada has won, he has not dominated. He has not been the Rainmaker. He might have gotten the wins, but he also got his ass handed to him, as exemplified here by Jeff Cobb. Ishii and Yujiro was really fun. I did not expect it to go nearly as long as it did. And again, Yujiro had his moments. He's having some very good matches with people. He's just not winning any of them. And as much as we love the way Naito throws shade, Ishii shade is its own separate creature. In the backstage comments, Ishii's practically washing his hands of the whole thing, where he says that, Yujiro has proved, once and for all that the best thing about him is his entrance, and his entrance isn't even good because of him. Okay, next match. And you're just like, damn, Ishii. But he may not be completely wrong. So to close out with the Young Lion match, Suji getting the win over Kid really, pissed off Kid, as we heard in the back. The Young Lions are kind of the exception to the rule, where you don't just hear from the victor, you're hearing from both parties in the match every time. And like I said about the previous show, when Gabriel Kidd and Yota Tsuji fight, it's a little bit mean. It's a little bit nasty as compared to when either one of them fight Uyemura. So we'll see if that's going to continue as a plan. I'm liking it. I like the fact that they are going out of their way to be a little bit more brutal with one another. But, we'll see how that goes. So then that's going to take us to the last of the 4 shows on October the 8th at Okayama. And once again, we have the aforementioned Yuya Uemura taking on Gabriel Kidd. Kidd gets the victory here in just under 9 minutes with a double arm suplex. Some, very nice stuff here. Again, this is the combination that wrestles instead of fights, and they pulled it off here. Then we go to Intra Chaos interaction where Hiroki Goto defeated Yoshihashi in just over 14 minutes. Goto wins with the GTR, but I almost didn't care about that nearly as much as I did Goto's reaction to Yoshihashi being a little big for his britches in this match, because Yoshihashi has, as we have repeatedly said, been having the best matches of his career, but while he and Goto are two of the three members of the Never Open Trios champions right now, when Yoshihashi had Goto in the corner and was just slapping him on the back of the head the way Naito does to everybody and just yelling at him, you could just see in Goto's face, because he kept doing it. You know, there was the first time and Goto looks at him like, son, I know you did not just do that. Yoshihashi keeps slapping him in the back of the head. Goto looks at him like, oh, you really want to do this? Yoshi hits him again. Goto just bursts out of the corner, almost grabbing Yoshihashi by the freaking throat and driving him into the ring ropes before just, having his way with him there. And so I'm just watching this like, okay, you show Hash Brown Tacos where his place is, because y'all are champions together, but you are not at that level, Yoshihashi. You do not get to treat Goto that way. So it might have taken 14 minutes, but Goto got a very well-earned win here, and we'll see how they continue on being champions together. But Goto just had to remind Yoshihashi of just who Hiroki Goto actually is. This was followed up by the most entertaining match that the G1 has had so far. I will hear no arguments to the contrary. Toru Yano and Zack Sabre Jr. Oh my god, this match. I've probably watched this match about 6 times. And if you have not yet watched it, when you do, you will understand why. Zack Sabre Jr. defeated Yano in just over 12 minutes. But that's not the point. The point is, this was probably the most fun that any G1 match has been this year, because you had Yano throwing away about half a dozen rolls of tape. You had Yano getting down on all fours in the ring and being all Mr. Amateur Wrestler, like, come on, come on. And he's throwing Zack around like they were actually doing legit college wrestling stuff. Zack did it too. They took turns like, come on, Mr. Amateur Wrestling, come on. And they were actually doing it. But they go to the outside and Yano pulls Zack's arm through the barricade and tapes his arm to a folding chair, and then goes running back in the ring. And Zack is having a fit trying to pull his arm back through. He can't do it. At a count of like 18, he manages to angle the chair to a point that he can pull it through. He dives back in the ring just in time for the 20 count. He's still taped to this folding chair, and the referee's looking at him like he's done something, and Yano is yelling, hey, look at what he's doing. And Zack is sitting there going, why would I do this to myself? And it is the best. This is just the most fun match of the entire thing. Zack ends up tapping Yano out with a figure 4 heel hook just over 12 minutes in. Watch this match. Oh my god, this is so much fun. And the backstage comments are some of the greatest that you will ever see. Yano's limping around and he's yelling about how Zack has ruined his legs, but he puts it in the context of the city they were in the night before was known for its chicken. And he's like, Zack, we're not in that town anymore. My legs are not chicken. This city is known for this totally different kind of food. And he's just yelling and ranting about, you know, I am not chicken. And then Zach, in his backstage comments, spends a legit 2 minutes or so in this very calm, very flattering tone of voice, talking about the match, talking about Yano, but at the end he just completely loses it and he can't do it anymore, and he starts yelling about, why is Yano in the G1? Yano should not be in the G1. This is ridiculous. And he just goes storming off, and it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. After that, we get Sonata taking on and defeating Kenta in a match that I was really curious to see. He gets him in about 11 and a half minutes with another O'Connor bridge. Sonata's having a lot more luck with that O'Connor bridge than he is with his Muda Moonsault, and he still seems insistent on trying to win with that. I was curious to see what would happen when you had a world-class striker like Kenta with a very pronounced mean streak. And it was pretty funny when Kenta tries to use the briefcase and Sonata just drop kicks it into his head. And this was good. I enjoyed it. It was not great. I felt like it was kind of missing something, and that these two have a better match in them, but it was not at all bad. Not bad at all. Speaking of stuff that was not bad at all, despite what I said about Zach and Yano, my favorite match of the night, and not just because of who was in it, semi-main event again, Tetsuya Naito versus Juice Robinson, and this went 25 minutes, and it really didn't feel like it dragged. This was a 25-minute match that knew how to use its time, and part of that came with Juice and Naito just mocking each other throughout. Like, Naito hits the ring for his entrance and he's taking off the suit, and Juice decides to go all Eddie Guerrero style up on the corner rope, and he's like, take your time, it's cool. And he's not flustered at all with anything. Juice is doing the "We Will Rock You" Queen chant, the stomp stomp clap, stomp stomp clap. He's got everybody doing that. So Naito starts making fun of it. He's doing the tranquilo pose in the ring, and he starts banging on his chest and then raising his fist like bang bang, going along with that rhythm, getting everybody to do it. And Juice was so very good here. I mean, they just had excellent chemistry together, and this is probably the match that made Juice Robinson feel like somebody who was so very close to being considered a legit threat in main event matches. This is a guy who should have a title. This is a guy who can hang with the double champion believably. This is a guy who honestly has a future as a big part of this company, or wherever else he decides to go. And this is just a fantastic match all the way across. Naito is the biggest dick to Juice Robinson in this match. I mean, he's standing on his head, he's mocking his chants, he's doing the juice thing all the way through, and it's just absolutely glorious. This is a must-see match. Then we got the main event, which was Evil taking on and defeating Hiroshi Tanahashi in right at 20 minutes. And like all of Evil's matches, it wasn't so much that Evil won the match, it was that Evil and Dick Togo won the match. And this is one of those matches that, it was good, but it's eminently forgettable, and we're not really going to be talking about it later.
Mm. I, whew, I cannot argue because my tag team partner knows a lot of shit, and I cannot argue when she's right. She's fucking right there. Because man, honestly, maybe not so much in the B Block show before, but this one definitely for sure. I think we should have had the double champ main event this show. And I know no disrespect to Hiroshi Tanahashi and no disrespect to the guy who's trying to bring quote unquote justice to New Japan right now. And he sounded a lot like Bane from The Dark Knight Rises, but that's neither here nor there. I just thought Evil's kind of sounded like that right now. He's talking about bringing justice to New Japan Pro Wrestling, but I digress. But no, I felt that Naito and Ju should have main evented the show. This is by far I think Naito said they've been matched up in G1 the last 3 years in a row. I'm gonna go ahead and say this is probably their best match, and this is probably the best match they've had since the Intercontinental Championship match they had back in 2017. It's just something about Juice Robinson and Tetsuya Naito that they just click. You know what I mean? They just click maybe more than Juice Robinson did with a Kenny Omega or with another wrestler insert here. He and Naito just click really, really well, and this is probably, I don't know if this is because I'm in a good mood tonight, maybe one of my favorite Block B nights. You have like I said, super great match between Naito and Juice right here. Kenta Sonata and both Yoshihashi and Goto were both really, really good. Yano had a really fun match right here, and even though the main event was honestly probably the worst match on this show, and that's not a bad match, but just saying what we had, they did work really solid, and there were way too much shenanigans right here. But I do like the story that they are telling, that with these, especially with these guys at Bullet Club. Jay White has his interference, but it's sparingly. Evil has interference throughout, and hell, after this match, he actually threw some shade to Jay White here, talking about, because Jay White saying, "Oh, who do I have next?" He's like, "Oh, I have Udro next. Udro's just going to lay down or whatever." And I do, even though I'm critical on Evil's New Japan or his Bullet Club run right now, not critical in a bad way. There's some things I like, some things I don't. I do love the fact that he's kind of Evil's good with foreshadowing. With he's always been good that way. Even when he was in Lij, he's always been good to say something he'll just say something very little, but it'll be like, okay, you'll just, because I'll even harken back to where he said, "Oh, man, I'm only focused on the IWGP Heavyweight title. Remember that," and this would just walk off. So, and it kind of harkens to what's going on now. You could even say that was like long-term build. So it's kind of weird when you think about it. But he said, "Oh, Jay thinks that Yujiro is going to lay down for him." Interesting. And that's all he says about it. So I'm just like, oh my God. I know I've seen some people be critical. Oh, they're doing another Bullet Club, Civil War. But I just love the subtle shade that he and Jay White are both throwing at each other. I enjoyed this B Block night. And Evil, his next opponent here in the G1 Climax, which I think will actually be Sunday, is a person he's very, very familiar with, former stablemate, the current double champ. He is going against Tetsuya Naito Sunday morning, and that's going to be very, very interesting. And what's crazy, Jay, before we close everything up, is I was like kind of, I guess, trying to think about everybody's final opponents, who they have left in the G1 Climax. Dead ass, I already knew who Naito's last three opponents were, because that's just how much Naito. I'm like, he got Evil, he got Kenta, and he got Yano. I just rattled it off. That's just this is like, I was like, yeah, all right, I know who he has left. Anybody else, I don't know, but Naito, I know who he has left off the top of my head. What
Oh,
you say?
I thought there was going to be more.
No, I got scared right there. I was like, whoo.
Yeah. Well,
Oh
that takes
man.
us up to the current time in the G1. And so when there are more shows, we shall return.
Yeah, there's going to be one tomorrow morning. We're going to get, I think, Shingo and Okada first time meeting, as I think it's going to be the main event. So we're going to get that. And Sunday
Yes.
morning.
Oh, and
Ooh,
talk about throwing some shade. Shingo had some very strong words for Okada, making fun of the money clip and basically saying that, if you don't show up as the Rainmaker, then that's not going to be any fun for me, and I'm going to destroy you. So, this version of you that we've been seeing isn't good enough. and he just straight called it. So, it will definitely be interesting. I'm hoping for a Shingo win, but I'm not expecting a Shingo win, but it
One
will
thing,
still be fun.
Jay, one thing Shingo said that I thought was super interesting before we wrap this up is he never viewed Okada as a threat, and even when he was the IWGP Heavyweight Champion,
Oh, right. Yes. Oh,
he's like, "You
and
never
those
been a threat."
exact words that, he had never viewed Okada as a threat. And that's glorious.
I don't know if y'all I don't know if you know anybody that's from the hood or y'all know hood vernacular, but what Shingo is basically saying right there is Okada is food to him. And that's just like, wow, okay, like I could take you anytime I want. That's pretty much what Shingo was saying. And whoo, I can't wait for tomorrow's shows. We're gonna be here with the coverage. We're gonna have Saturday and Sunday. So yeah, man, y'all just sit back, relax, get y'all a drink. If y'all, whack your tobacco, whatever, we ain't gonna get into that. But do whatever y'all do and just be here with us as we pretty much finish this G1 Climax. Because now that I think about it, I don't know if anybody else has done this on any other platform, but goddamn it, we've covered every show and we will continue to cover every show up until the final. So yes. Jay, is there anything you want to say about the G1 Climax before we get up out of here and close this G1 show up?
I think we've pretty much covered it. Thank you for joining us on this ride, and we look forward to having you with us when we pick up with the next show.
Shit, you heard my sis right there. Should subscribe, all that good stuff over here on Podbean. We doing our things too. And you know what? I don't think TVSI is the villain, but I'll get into that. I'm feeling good. That's why I said that. So you can just disregard that, everyone. Don't even pay attention to me. I'm sorry. Anywho, but yeah. So like my good sis said, we'll be back for more G1 Climax action as we will. So yeah, y'all just sit back, relax, and stay tuned, man. We're here. We in here. We in this bitch. So as I flex my muscles, y'all can't see me, but I'm doing it. But we holler at y'all later, and y'all know what to do because the double champ, I believe, Jay, he has 10 points right now. So
He does, yes.
so he has 10 points. So y'all know what to do. Tranquilo. We'll holler at y'all soon.